Hello.
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I don't know. I just restarted my phone as well.
That shit was dumb, man.
So dumb. But I feel like if I was fasting, none of this would be happening. I feel like this is things just happen this way. Because if I was fasting before this podcast, it would have just smoothly worked, I feel, on my end. I think it's more so just the timing of
Yeah, it does play a factor. It'd be so much fuckery, man. Since Spotify bought this, it used to be the Anchor app, and they used to never do that, but now it does. It's some bullshit. But what's up?
Yeah, Anchor's good.
Yeah, how you doing?
Anchor was good. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Just got some much needed rest because I had a lot of things to do and it was kind of taking away from my sleep, but now I'm good. I'm refreshed. So I know you said you wanted to talk about.
Damn, you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you said I wanted to talk about what now? My bad.
Politics?
No,
You were saying something like that.
we talk about politics, but you was hitting me specifically about what we was talking about in the DM. I don't know if you want to talk about that too. But we can talk about politics.
Um,
I was gonna say I want to know about what they're doing up there in Canada for sure.
oh, okay. Well, we can start with that. We can start with that. So, as far as like right now in Canada, I'm not very I don't have like full in-depth knowledge of every single detail of what's going on as far as like politically, because I just don't pay attention to it. I know like our prime minister is doing a lot of things over here in Ontario, um, and
You
like
think
a
he's
lot of
gay?
people are not. Pardon?
You think he's gay?
You know what? I think that a lot of politicians and a lot of people in those positions of power have a lot of, you know, sinister things that they do. I personally don't think that any of these people are, straight all the way. Like as far as just everything, just not even just sexuality, but like everything. I feel like there's dark things going on. I don't put it past anybody in a position of power. Um,
Yeah, they're just not
so
wholesome.
yeah, yeah. I don't. But I don't really pay attention much to everything that's going on politically. But what I can say from like just living here for me personally is that the cost of living is extremely high right now in Toronto. And then they just keep building condos everywhere, condominiums. They keep built like they just, if you go downtown Toronto, there's always cranes everywhere. They're just constantly building more and more condominiums. And then, you know, the rent is just increasing, the cost of food is increasing. Everything is just very expensive. So what's happening is that a lot of people that live in Ontario, they're moving to other provinces to live. Like a lot of people are going to Alberta, and just different places. Like they're moving further north because the cost of living is actually cheaper there. The taxes, which taxation is illegal, but anyways, the taxes are less, like they're lower in these other places. So yeah, so people are leaving this like over here, and it's very unfortunate. A lot of people here are like one paycheck away from poverty over here. Like a lot of people are really just living check to check. People are really struggling, and it's just like I don't know what's happening, like why this is taking place. Um, it's just it's very sad and unfortunate for a lot of people. Um, but yeah, I don't know if that's exactly what you wanted to know specifically about Canada, like what's going on over here. But that's all I can really give you based on like what I pay attention to, because I don't really read or look into too much. I just know that things are just really expensive on this side, for
Yeah,
sure.
it's hard to live.
Yeah. Yeah, very like It's very, and then it's not even like the land mass, like here in Canada all year round. You can grow your own food. Like you can grow your own food here, but it's like a limit to like what you can really grow unless you have like, unless you have a situation that you can actually grow your own food, like in like a greenhouse or something like that, or something where you can do that. But like as far as like tropical fruit, like how, how Florida is like the foliage capital of the world or whatever, how you can just grow food all year round and have an abundance. Like over here, it's just kind of like a limit to what you can really do in that sense, to where you don't really need to rely on anything external, like the groceries and all that stuff. Um, from my understanding, anyways. So yeah, there's a lot of reliability on the grid over here in that regard to like sustain oneself, but yeah, it's and then getting jobs too, apparently people are saying it's very difficult and stuff like that. So I don't really know what's going on, but it just seems like things are moving into a more like people are being forced to really like consider, like the way I see it is that the way how things are going, people are being forced to consider alternative ways of living because of the way how the system is just, you know, um, spending their money on. And, you know, and like I was saying before, if you're someone that is a holistic person as far as how you eat and your lifestyle, you can adjust to what's going on a little smoother. But if you're someone that's used to a certain way of living, like the standard, like consumerism and all these things, it can be challenging to really like even entertain the idea of needing less, like not going out all the time, not buying expensive meats and all this stuff, and like fasting or eating, more plant based, because you can get rice and lentils and you can get things like that really in abundance for less if you eat that way. But if you don't, then it's going to be like, oh, I'm starving, or there's nothing to eat, like everything's expensive. But it really is just a change in value systems and like what you actually, um, it's like you have to kind of shift what it is that you're actually doing in order to make your life more manageable with the way how the inflation is happening. If that makes any sense, like, so um yeah, it's very it's very rough over here. And then not to mention you have winter, which just makes it more depressing. Like the sun shines, but like because I lived in Florida, I kind of have contrast to the way that the sun can shine, So like the sun shines here, but it shines through like a smog of like air pollution and like city in this part of where I'm from, like in Toronto in the city. I can't speak for like further out where like there's more trees and nature, because Canada does have a lot of that. But like over here, it's like the sun shines, but it's not the same. It's not the same type of sunshine that you would get if you were like in the West Coast or even here or even in Florida and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So it can be a little depressing when you're not getting enough sun, and then you can't really go out. Like you can go outside and get sun like that, but then you're freezing, and then
And
then it costs a little.
the blacker you are, the more sun you need to be sane, really.
Exactly. And this is why I have compassion for my people when it comes to like just tweaking in situations like this, like where you're in a place where there's no light, and then you're surrounded by a bunch of things that, we're very sensitive to. So like you kind of feel like you need to smoke and you need to really numb yourself, because otherwise you're just going to be it's like you're going to get driven like mad in a sense. And I always say, like, people who can handle what's going on in the world sober without needing a crutch or needing something to kind of numb themselves, they're real, like, they're really some warriors, because it's not easy. You know what I mean? And I feel like memes have helped me to kind of make things light while I'm going through and navigating all this, like laughing at stuff and like reading memes that are relatable and like, cause like if I don't have something like that to kind of keep my mind on a more lighter note, it can be it can be depressing. Like I don't know. I know you can heat up your body through breath work. I've experienced it where I'm doing breath work while I have a hoodie on and then now I have to take it off because I'm sweating, but like, on a daily basis, when you're out there and you're like, going outside and it's snow and it's negative, -5 or whatever the case, like it's just like it's not a good feeling and there's no sun and everything like that. And everything's expensive and the roads are all hard to drive on and people got to wake up early and go to work to pay for their expensive homes or wherever their rent. It's it's not an ideal situation, even though there are a lot of things to be grateful for, even in a circumstance like this. Um, it isn't a favorable and ideal situation. Um, and that's Canada every winter, like every year, it's the same cycle. Thankfully, this year we didn't get as much snow as last winter. Um, but we got snow the first day of spring, which was interesting. So, like, there was no snow, and then all of a sudden there was a snowstorm on the first day of spring. And I'm just like, that's interesting. Um, but yeah, the weather is starting to change now. And around this time is when, well, not really now, maybe mid April is when the weather will start to get warmer. The sun will come out, will be out more, and people will kind of get back into their happy mode. Um, it's just really gloomy in the winter seasons over here. It's a very gloomy time. Everyone's tired. And then they call it seasonal depression. And it's kind of like, I don't know. It's just lack of sun. It's lack of sunlight. We have basic needs. These human machines have basic needs, and we need them to be fulfilled on a daily basis. So if it's lacking in any way, then our mental health will decline. You know. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, it's pretty frustrating to
Yeah.
to be in a place like that. Man, that's why I always, I try to leave every year. If I'm here in California, I try to leave to go to Arizona or somewhere warm, from anywhere from as much as possible from Christmas to about now, to when the weather starts to break again, because it's miserable. Like it's not that cold. It's not Canada cold, and we don't get snow here like Canada does, but it's
Yeah.
like it's just the gloominess of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gloomy for sure. It's really gloomy, I'm telling you. And then you can see it like if you're pretty stable with your emotional state, you can see like people around you, like how they shift and how everyone just kind of has this different type of energy on them. But then when the sun is out, it's like anything could be happening and people are still like high spirits despite what's going on. It's almost like the way that people can handle stress is more people are more resilient when the sun is shining, like despite,
Yeah,
you know what I mean, like, so like I don't know, it's harder to deal with stress, I feel like, when you're not getting adequate sunlight. Like you just want to shut down and just nest and just stay in hibernation mode and just be, in your room or wherever. But yeah, getting away and going, and this is why I will be traveling soon, um, to go to a tropical place because I mean my body just feels amazing there. I love heat. I love like real hot weather. Like in Florida, I was sunbathing easy, like just laying in the sun easy. It was hot. It was very hot, but I enjoyed that. Like I liked letting just absorbing as much of it as I could. And I'm glad that I took advantage of that. Um, because it was needed. Like I felt like that was the season for me to get as much of that as I could. And had a lot of like my skin was darker because even though I'm black, like the winter here will make it to where even black people have a lighter hue in a way. Like we get lighter. for a lot of us who are brown skin, our skin gets lighter, and then over the summer we go back to like a darker skin tone. So even for me, I was shades darker in Florida. And I love that. Even when I went to Jamaica last winter, same thing. So I love the glow and everything that the sun can give me, like the color that the sun can give me, because it is color. It's melanin. And
Yeah, bringing it
I
out.
love it. Yes, yeah, I love that. I really
Yeah.
do.
So how long are how long are you not able to come back to America?
So as far as um what I know right now, I still have to go through a process with the lawyers to talk about like when uh so basically everything's already been filed for me to be able to go over the border, but it's just a matter of waiting for things to get processed. Because when it comes to legal things, it just takes a really long time. Um, so yeah, and I think there will be a moment where they'll call me in for an interview and we'll discuss it. It's really such a stupid situation that happened, but I'm just gonna charge it to the game because I never committed any crimes. I've never done anything to really like criminalize myself to where they had to deal with me the way that they had at the border. But as far as I know, the lawyers were saying like 2025 or something like that.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so like maybe sometime next year. So depending on what they say, then I can travel to the US. And the thing is too, like I'm not really at first I was really stressed out about it, but now I'm actually more, I'm calm because I know it's like, okay, I can't go there, but it's not like the rest of the world is locked off to me. So it's
Yeah.
not like I can't travel anywhere else, but it's just the fact that it's our neighboring country. And it's like if I wanted to just go over the border for like an hour or not an hour, like a couple days or something, it's like a big deal, you know? It's like, so I don't know. But yeah, it should be in like the next year that they're saying that things should be processed fully. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say,
yeah.
like, I guess just to provide some background information, like you had a husband or I don't know if you finalized a divorce or that, but you had a husband that's in Florida.
Yeah.
So that's crazy to me that they would even kick you out.
That's exactly what like that's what he was saying too. He's like, tell them that you're married, because they shouldn't be able to do something like that. And I was like, I let them know, and they're like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And honestly, I feel like there were a lot of different intersecting things going on when I was at the border. I don't even feel like it was just that, like the situation itself. I feel like it was also because I'm Black. And I don't even want it to be that, but the way they were dealing with me was like they just dealt with me in a way that was disgusting. I don't know if that's just the way the police are there because the police here in Canada, they're not like they're just different. Like I don't know how to explain it, but it's just not the same. They're a little
Canada,
more
Canada,
willing.
Canada's border is serious though. One time I was with this chick I was seeing, and like she had a prior possession charge, and she had like a pending DUI, and they was trying not to let her in because like, but she was like, I'm going to court for it still. I didn't get convicted, but they're like, yeah, if you get a DUI, you can't come in here.
Wow. So you and the girl were going to Canada, like, and the Canadian border was holding
They
you guys
stopped us.
back?
They stopped
Oh,
us
wow.
for her because she had a possession charge. She had like a weed possession charge a few prior years, and then she had like a pending DUI where they was like, she was like, "Oh, I'm not convicted of it yet. I'm going back and forth to court about it." And they were like, "If you was convicted, you wouldn't be able to get in."
Wow, wow, wow.
They
Yeah,
take DUI serious. I don't know.
yeah, see, and the thing is, I've never had any legal issues at the border ever, so I'm not even familiar with with like the regulations and everything or the rules that they have. This was the first time I ever experienced anything like this. And so I was just I cried for hours after waiting for my dad to come and get me from the border, all the way from like Toronto, driving all the way to Buffalo, or not Buffalo, but all the way to Rainbow Bridge, because that's where I was. And like I was just devastated because the way that they treated me was so like rough, like it was harsh. Like I had a few suitcases with me. and they're like, well, we're gonna take you back over the border. The guy just watched me, and I had like these heavy suitcases trying to like fight it to go in the back of the cruiser. He's staring at me trying to lift it up, like just being nasty. You know what I mean? And it's like you're already in control. Like you're already in a position where I can't do anything to you. I can't fight, can't do anything. So like, why kick me when I'm already down kind of thing? Like they were just very, very nasty. Um, but like I said, everything is divine intervention. And I swear to you, that entire time, this was right after I had did that 1 week of breath work and like I had these realizations. So this was right after that. Like right after that, I'm like, nah, something in me is telling me that I need to go back there. Like I can't be here. Something in me was like, nah, you need to leave. You need to go back. So
To
I
Canada.
trusted it. Yeah, to go back to Florida. Cause of the
Oh,
yeah, like go back to the States. Like that was what I was feeling called to do. So
why'd you go to
that's
Canada to begin with?
why did I leave?
Yeah, why would you leave
Oh, I
Florida?
mean, I left Florida. It's a really long story. I probably don't want to disclose too much information, but I left really because I felt like there was something that there was something that I needed to do. Like I felt like I had growing to do. And I felt like I wasn't able to do that in the situation that I was in. There was a feeling of stagnancy. And that's as much as I'm going to really say about it. But that, because, I don't want to cause any
Yeah.
issues. So I'm just going to stay with that.
Okay.
But yeah. So I left because I felt that I needed to be able to be strong on my own. And I didn't feel like I was growing. I didn't feel like the situation was allowing me to grow in the ways that I needed to. I felt like I was, stagnant. So like I was doing the breath work, I was fasting, I was taking the herbs. These are things I was doing in Florida, like fasting, sunbathing, doing the herbs. Um, I was on the herbs heavy, meditation. In nature doing breath work, going on walks. I was on my fruits, making green juices, like making them on my own. I was on all that stuff. I was doing everything like fundamentally, like what I'm supposed to be doing. But then I just felt like there was just something where like my potential was kind of like there was a cap on it to where like if I wanted to go and expand in some type of way, it was like I kind of felt like I wasn't really capable of doing that. And I have to say it was because of the situation, like the living situation that I was in. And like I said, and I don't want to say that it's other people, but I feel like there's more autonomy for me here living with my mom and like my family. Like there's more autonomy because I'm in my home space. I'm not illegal in the country here, so I can go out and do things and like I just had a lot more autonomy. And ever since I came back here, the things that I wanted to accomplish and like to build that autonomy, I was able to do. So I feel like in that situation, there was just a cap. But the one thing I will say is that being in that situation, it kind of gave me a lot of free time and a lot of space to really do all the things that I was doing because I had like a support system where I didn't really have to go to work. A lot of the things that women are talking about now, like not having to work and like having the person they're with take care of them, like I technically had that, and but it's just like you can have that, but to what cost? Because every nothing is all the way perfect. You have to pick your poison in every situation. So it's like even though I had all this free time and I had someone really that was there to like, take care of me and support me in a lot of ways, there were limitations. Like, I couldn't really get up and say I want to go to Miami because I had to like bring that to the person and then like they based on what they say like I can go or I can't kind of thing. There was a little bit of limitations in that way where my freedom wasn't all the way there in that way. Um, and also too, I was very immature. I was young when I went. I was 20 years old, and I'm in school right now for behavior psychology. And what we're learning is that, between the ages of 20 to 29, they say 25, but I feel like it's 29. And I'm pretty sure you're aware of this too, because you've mentioned it in your post that like your brain doesn't fully develop, your prefrontal cortex is still developing. So at 20 years old, I'm still like really figuring out who I am and what it is that I want. And by the time I hit 25, because I was there for 5 years, I was like, okay, I'm seeing now that like there's certain things that are not in alignment with like where I want to be or what I'm trying to do. You know, I didn't really know exactly what it was that I wanted to do, but I just knew that there was something that didn't feel right to me in that situation. And it was met with a lot of resistance. Like me leaving wasn't a graceful situation. A lot of resistance came of that. Um, and there was a lot of pain and sadness when I did come home because I had to readjust to this environment. Like Canada is not, it's not the worst place in the world. As you've told me, it's not the worst place, but the lack of sun, the expensiveness of produce. There was a Mexican spot in Florida where I could go and get like a fruit cup for like $2, like a big fruit cup, you know? Here it's like you got to spend like 450 for like, a little small tray of like a medley of fruits. It's expensive, you know? So it's just like, there were little things that I had to adjust to, even my family, because what I realized is that when I left Toronto and I went to the States, there was a lot of growth that took place for me there. A lot of growth. And then when I came back here, it was almost like, it was like when I left, like nothing really changed. There was no progression. I didn't see like, there were little changes, small changes. Like my mom stopped eating meat. She was vegetarian and stuff after I had left and stuff. Like everybody was kind of, my dad, he started eating differently. Everybody kind of had their little small changes that they made. But as far as like the overall circumstances of everything, like everyone was kind of just in that same vibe, and I kind of saw my family differently when I came back. It was a very interesting thing. I felt kind of out of place at first, and then I had to adjust back to being around my family because when I left, I was a child basically, and when I came back, it's like I'm an adult. Like I'm like, okay, my brain is different, my accent is different. I had a bit of like a mixture of like a Canadian and a Southern accent. It was very weird because I had to adjust to where I was. I was around a lot of Black Southern Americans, so there was a lot of slang and stuff that I was using because that's how I was able to connect with the people around me. Um, and I came here and it was like I had to readjust. And I also had a lot of growing to do. I had to really navigate and be more wise because I didn't have, the person who I was with to kind of give me pointers, which
So
is a real pardon?
I was saying to provide insight into that. So like, how did you meet? Because like there was an age gap there, right? Like
Yeah, yeah. It was an age gap relationship of 20 years. So
so he was
basically
40,
how
you
we
were
met,
20.
yeah, yeah.
That's crazy.
So basically what happened was we didn't meet, we met through a friend. Um and it was through a community. I'm not really going to disclose anything about the community because I really just want to keep things, I'm not trying to ruffle any feathers. I don't know who's going to hear this or listen to this, but
I mean,
basically,
you could be broad about it. You could just be broad about it. Like
yeah,
what
yeah,
the
yeah.
yeah.
So it was a community on a social media site, and the friend that I knew, I me and him were cool when I first came across this community because he was a part of it as well. And then I ended up going through a really bad breakup here in Canada, and I went on that social media site, and I basically posted, "Has God given up on me?" Because it was like so much unfortunate stuff was going on at that time. This was around 2016 when I had made that post, and then my friend he replied, and he was like, "God hasn't given up on you," and he's like, he basically made the suggestion if you want to come out to the States to Florida for a bit to like kind of clear your head, like, you can come, like we will provide, like we'll send for you to come or whatever, like pay for your ticket. So when I did, me, 20, pretty much a rebel at heart. I blame it on the Aquarius placements in me. Like I will get up and do something spontaneous. I said, you know what? things are not really going so well here. So I'm going to leave. I'm going to go. Because in my head, I'm thinking that I would just be there for like a month or two and come back, or not a month, a few weeks or something and come back. So when I went out there, I connected with the friend, and then I met him through that friend. And then that's how things kind of ended up taking place. And it wasn't really something that was forced. It wasn't like a thing where me and him were well, we did communicate before I went, like through video chat and like texting, but it wasn't a situation where we were on social media and me and him connected directly. It was literally through a mutual friend. And when he told me about the things that he's experienced in his story, we actually made a podcast about it. Actually, there's a podcast episode where he talked about his experience with his spirituality, where he came out of his body and he basically saw Thoth, or he had fasted and meditated, and to the point where he came out of his body and he saw Thoth, and he saw his past lives. He was in Egypt. He saw like where his story is insane. And like that's what really captivated me at that time. And I believed him. Like, obviously, I didn't assume that it was a lie. I've come out of my body before. As I told you in the last episode, I do know that that's possible because it's happened to me as a teenager. So when someone tells me something like that, because I have personal experience, I know that that's real. Like, no one can tell me that it's not real. And especially because Hollywood is making movies about it. Come on, man. Like, this is some real stuff. Like, your vessel, this body is just a vehicle. Like, this is not you. You're just using this body to be able to interact with the material world. So you need this vehicle to do so. But there is a side of you that is beyond this physical vessel. And he was explaining that to me, like he went through that. And it changed the way that he saw everything. It changed the way he viewed religion, Christianity, because his family is Christian. Like, everyone believes in Jesus and everything. It's most black families and like old school black people will believe in Jesus and subscribe to that doctrine. So he was deep in it. And then when he experienced that, he said his spine was vibrating and was locked and he couldn't move. And then he came out of his body. He saw himself in the mirror while he came out of his body and saw himself. There was a light flashing over his head. It's a very deep thing where he was telling me. So then, I was like intrigued, and it's funny when you're a young woman and you're involved with someone and he's much older. A lot of times, younger women, we get intrigued by anything that wows us is much more. We're more susceptible to being um, reeled in when things are like fantastical or like amazing. Like, younger women, I feel, are more drawn to that kind of stuff. That's why I feel like older men who have fast cars and they have like money and experiences and traveling and all that lavish stuff. Younger women are more like, oh my gosh, like he's amazing. I'm not saying that was the case per se with this situation, but like I was a lot more impressionable to where I'm seeing all the things that he's telling me and I'm not looking at the circumstances that he was in and what the reality of the situation was despite what he went through. So I'm just like, wow, like I want to know more. I want to experience more. Um, and then he started teaching me sword training. He taught me how to use bow and arrow. We would be going for walks, long distances in Florida. And I could not, he's 20 years older than me, and I am unable to keep up. And I'm like, why am I so tired? And the sun is beating down. I have my sword on my back. I'm walking, you know, and I'm trying to keep up. And I realized, even in hindsight, like when I um, came back to Canada, like when I fast forward or whatever, and I think back to like those times, I'm like, it was all a mindset because I was thinking that my fatigue was coming from not eating when really it's a whole mentality shift. Like, it's really, the energy is really in you always. It's just that you have to realize your own energy and then you have it. Like, you're never without energy, but you have to recognize that and then you'll be able to walk a long distance without getting famished or fatigued or whatever. So there were just little things that he was teaching me at the time that didn't really click until I separated and I left. So it was like he was just teaching me a lot of things. And that was kind of how I thought to myself, like, you know what, like this is somebody who I would want to be with. Like I would rather stay here and build, you know. But then what I didn't realize was that my passport was going to expire soon. So what had happened was my passport actually expired while I was there, and it ended up being a whole complicated process of me getting my passport renewed. Um, so yeah, like that's kind of what kind of caused me to have to stay longer than I had intended. But then it gave me time too. Like I feel like everything that happened was really on for a divine reason. And it wasn't an easy situation. Like it definitely wasn't a perfect circumstance, but it was very it was for me to learn. And what I will say through that whole experience of being involved with this person is that um I learned about Black American culture in the South. Um, it made me understand a lot more about just that. Like, it just made me understand the hood in a different way. And like, over here has nothing on the hood in America. Like, Canada hasn't, like, he would tell me things like, you can't tell somebody that you coming back for them. Like, if you tell somebody, hey, watch your back, I'm coming for you, like they're gonna like end you on sight. Like that's how it is over there. Like there's no like rah rah and like, you know, arguing back and forth. And he told me like he grew up in the projects and niggas were getting killed for $5. Like like people, it's just way more serious and rough on that side. And then also he introduced me to weapon use, like how to unload a gun, how to clean it, how to like load it. um he brought me to the shooting range. Like there's a lot of perks to being with someone much older than you because you learn so much like quality information. Not even just that, we learned about the Moors. I know you touched on the Moors a lot and you shared your take on it and everything. So I learned a lot about it from two different perspectives. Like I also learned from your side. And then I also learned about the Moors, like how, you know, we built civilization and we are royalty in the sense like, you know, the real true Israelites, like all of that stuff. We learned about that. Um, like he taught me about that. And then, you know, learning that Black is not a person, I mean, not a human being. Um, it's like 2/3 or 1/3 of human or something like that. Like I learned about that. And, you know, I just learned about a lot of things. And it was really what really tied the knot for me. Like what was like, okay, I'm willing to be married to this person because it's not really about it's not just about the vanity of it. Like, yeah, he's much older than me and stuff, and there's like there's a cultural difference. Even though we're both black, I guess you could say, there is a cultural difference because he came from a totally different upbringing. Like he's growing up in the 80s in the South, in the hood, and I'm coming from, you know, the late 90s, growing up in like around, you know, white people and playing hockey and all that stuff. So there is a total difference, you know. And then, you know, the living circumstances, like I grew up in, you know, government assisted housing, but I did not grow up seeing, well, there was gun violence where I was at as well. Despite it being Canada, there was gun violence and shooting. But I didn't really grow up to where I was starving and there was nothing for me to eat. Like how a lot of these rappers are like, I woke up and there's nothing for me to eat. Or when Tupac is like, I'm starving and I'm looking for a purse to snatch and all that. Like that was never the reality for me. I guess you could say it's because I'm a female child. I don't know at the time, but it was different. Like there were a lot of things that I had to learn. I had to learn to be humble in a lot of ways too, because being over here, I didn't recognize how privileged I was in a lot of ways. Even being a Black person, there's definitely a distinct difference between Black Americans and Black Canadians. There's a difference in privileges. Over here, yes, we are still considered, I guess, a minority group, but in the States, the divide is a lot bigger. So, um, yeah, it's more discreet here, the racial prejudice. Over there, it's a lot more serious. Like you go in the black area and there's, Wendy's and Dunkin' Donuts and all these different restaurants, KFC, and then you go to like the so-called white area and there's Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, and all that. Like you can clearly see what's going on. And then he also taught me about the history of Florida and like the movie Rosewood and just different things that have taken place where people, Black people were getting ran out of areas where business was booming. And, he also put me on to old movies like Pulp Fiction and, Carlito's Way and, Training Day, like movies that I probably would have never watched, like the movie Fallen, and it's not even like these movies are that old, but it's like because of just me being a late
Yeah,
90s baby.
the time when they hit. Yeah,
Exactly. He's like, nah, you need to watch this movie. I watched Carlito's Way and I was like, wow, like this man was really running with him and had the gun in his jacket. That whole like there's a whole bunch of stuff, man. Like the priceless like knowledge and information. And this is what it was for me. Like I was able to learn and grow like in a very quick way, like really dealing with somebody who, meditated, fasted, understood it. Like he's like, you don't really need to eat much. You don't need to eat that much. I'm like, yeah, but I'm hungry. He's like, you don't need to eat that much. Like you don't understand. Like you can take in energy from the air around you, like you can breathe through your pores, like you don't, and I just couldn't comprehend it. But I think for me, like what it is when it comes to learning something, the best way to teach someone is to let them fail on their own. Like don't help them too much. When you leave someone to their own devices, they eventually come to the knowledge, but it has to happen on an internal level. So for me, a lot of my growth, like my accelerated growth, took place when I was separated from the situation. So it wasn't that like he was holding me back, but I feel like constantly having somebody in your ear telling you what to do and everything can kind of make it feel like you're not really making progress because everything that you're doing is basically what they're telling you. But then when you're by yourself and you're really taking steps and you start seeing your small wins, then you're like, okay, I'm really mastering this shit because I did it on my own. So you don't really realize how much you've grown until you really see your own growth, like when it's self-made, when it's something that came from you. And when
yeah,
I did that 1 week of fasting and I did the breath work and I did that on my own, it was like it skyrocketed. And then my self-confidence was there because it was me that did it. Like I felt like, okay, yes, I had the teachers, yes, I had the support, but I did this on my own kind of thing. And it felt good to know that I'm capable and I'm strong enough because you can't really recognize your strength if you're always leaning on someone. And this is what I try to tell my mom when it comes to Christianity. If you put all of your faith in something external, you're not going to recognize your own potential. So like the way I perceive, Jesus or Yeshua is he's a reflection of who you can be or who you are. He's like he fully knows himself. So he's here to show you you and you see you in him. But then instead of you recognizing that he is you, you're like, I can't be like that. I'm going to put him on a pedestal. Like, only he can really bring me out of where I'm at. But it's really your own faith, just like the woman that touched his garment. Because she had faith, it's what healed her. So it really comes from inside of you and your own internal faith that really makes you um, recognize that the power. It's not really the external thing. It's really from inside of you. He said, your faith has healed you. And that's really what it is. And I know you were talking about, like, on the periodic table, Fe is iron. Iron is, the blood, and Fe in Latin is faith, or I think, yeah, Latin is faith. And so it's like, it's all connected. Like you have to detox and you have to get off of the meat and the dairy to really realize the truth. Like, you have to be clean on the inside to really recognize it. You can have faith on a fundamental level or on a conceptual level, but to truly experience it, you have to allow your body to be able to even resonate on that frequency. And that can only really happen if you do give yourself some time to really fast and to cleanse yourself. And this is why I will forever, forever emphasize the power of fasting, the power of breath work, the power of colon hydrotherapy. You know, don't abuse it, the colon hydrotherapy, but like cleaning out your colon like maybe twice every few months, you know what I mean? Or once every few months, allow your body to be open up to your own energy. It frees
Yeah.
you, it allows you to experience your own energy, because a lot of people are exhausted and tired because they have old energy sitting in them and it's just weighing them down, you know, old thoughts, which comes from being clogged on a physical level. So you have clogged thoughts, and then it's like you're not really healing. Like your body is just in a figure eight. You're just wake up, eat on top of the food that's still in you from yesterday and last week. So nothing's really getting purged out, and then you're just repeating the cycle every single day when you wake up. You're not actually progressing, and the parasite is feeding off of that. It's feeding off of the routine of you not really like letting, like going off that path. You know what I mean? So you're just in a cycle, just going back, just going on that same cycle, that same loop over and over and over again. And then you never really realize how much more you could be, or how better, how great you can actually feel. And so when I do colon hydrotherapy and I come out, I'm like, I feel amazing. I actually was at the doctor's today, and my doctor looked at me and said, honestly, Leesa, like, your cholesterol levels are better than any patient I have. It's extremely low. And she's like, and it surprises me because you have a brother who has cholesterol problems, and your father also, well, she knows that, you know, he's my stepfather, but she was saying, like, he mentioned that your brother has cholesterol issues. So it's weird, you know, that you don't have this issue when it's something that's in your family. But I told her, I said, honestly, a lot of people think that things are hereditary, but I personally feel like how you take care of your body says everything. And I know it might not be in alignment with what you've learned, because she's a, you know, a doctor of many, for many years, but diet and exercise and fasting is my secret. I'm 28 years old, and I'm so thankful that 10 years ago I came across this knowledge, because it saved me. If anything, it's put more years onto my life than had I not known this information. Because before that, I was eating heavy meats, steak, bacon, sausages, hot dogs, all this stuff. I was eating all of that, you know, and had I really had I not come across this knowledge, I probably would have been pre-diabetic. I probably would have had high cholesterol. I personally don't believe that things are inherited unless you were born sick because of what your mom was doing prior to being pregnant with you. Like, I feel like you really do have power to a certain degree over your health despite what's in your family history. And I think that because I took the initiative to change what I was doing, like how I was eating, it kind of took me out of that paradigm where, like, oh, well, my mom has, you know, diabetes, and my grandmother has high cholesterol, and my father is diabetic, so that's going to be for me. Like, I don't believe in that. I do not believe in that. I feel like everybody has a choice to take their health into their own hands to a certain degree. You know, I can't really speak for everyone, because some people are born with type 1 diabetes, and, you know, it
Yeah.
comes from
Like you said,
whoever.
like the mom, yeah. The
Yeah.
mom,
Yeah.
yeah. If you're in a like if a mom, like it's so much, you're so much more likely to have glasses if your mom's diabetic. Like man, shit.
Yep. Yep. My brother. My
Yeah.
brother has it. He's my mom's first. My mom's first child that she had when she was 17 has glasses and high cholesterol. And he actually was vegan before I was. And then he went back to eating meat because he moved to Japan. He lives in Japan right now, actually. And he moved to Japan, and he's into, I think it's Taekwondo. Is it Taekwondo or karate? He's into karate. and he was fighting with the guys, and those guys eat meat, and he noticed that they were stronger or whatever. So he went back to eating meat. But I'm like, I just looked at him. I'm like, honestly, man, like I would never let that stop me from doing what I know is going to be the best thing for me. Like, I don't care how strong you are. Like, my strength doesn't come from me eating animal flesh. Like, no, it doesn't. You know what I mean? Like, but he's way older than me. We have like a 13, I think it's like a 13-year age gap between me and my brother. So he's like well in his 40s now. He's like in his 40s now. But we
Mm.
talked about like way in 2012, me and him were on the knowledge together. This was before I even discovered this path, anything. Me and him would talk about this stuff. Um, he was seeking too and everything like that. And me and him would just sit and talk about it. And we still do to a certain extent, but he does have cholesterol, and it's something that he was born with it. So it's not something that he just developed with time. It was something that he was born with, and he has to watch how he eats. He has to exercise. And my doctor was kind of saying, like, it's surprising that you, that you don't have that in your brother, and I'm just like, that has nothing to do with me. Like, I don't know. Like, to me, I just don't buy into that belief system. Like, I just feel like whatever God gave you, don't waste it. Like, if he gave you good health, if he gave you a functioning body, he gave you all your limbs, do the best you can to make the most of it and maximize its potential to the best of your ability. Don't, if you have legs, make sure you walk, like make sure you run, like do
Yeah.
stuff with your organs while they're still healthy, and don't take them for granted either, because
So
yeah.
I was gonna say, what I was gonna ask you is like kind of going back a little bit. Like, why don't you think that you had kids with your husband?
Honestly,
It's the
I
age
feel like
thing. Like, you think you just weren't ready?
well, I mean, I at one point I was trying to, because things are going in a certain way, and I had this belief that if we had children that it would fix stuff, but it just never happened. And I don't know if, honestly, I feel like a lot of things are divine intervention. And this is no shade toward him, but I feel like a lot of things were just not in alignment. And it could also be that I wasn't eating well. And when I say I wasn't eating well, like I was very low in iron at the time. um, I wasn't really taking good care of my body. I hadn't seen the doctor. I had no understanding of why my body was just unable to get pregnant. So I just don't know what it was. And I do think that there was a lot of stress. And this is also part of the reason why I left too, because I wanted to be able to see about my body. Like now I can easily book a blood test. I can easily go to the doctor. I can easily do these things. Whereas then the only time I went to the doctor in the States was to go to the hospital when I was feeling like I couldn't walk. I was like passing out. I was like, severely underweight. I was chronically fasting, like I was abusing it because I was so stressed that I wasn't eating. Like I think I had developed an eating disorder actually from the just trying to be in control, because I felt so out of control in that situation that I wasn't taking care of myself properly, and I was very low on iron. And not being able to see a doctor was, weighing on my head. Like, I'm a woman, I need to check myself and see what's going on. And so not being able to do that was also what motivated me to leave. But I think me being in that state of health affected my ability to get pregnant, because I feel like your body is going to know when it's ready for something. And if your body is not able to house another living being, it's not going to allow you to get pregnant. Simple. And I feel like that's even the case with like miscarriages or whatever the case may be. If your body, if the divine one, the all-knowing one knows that this is not a favorable situation, it's not going to allow it. Either it will allow it to teach you something, or it won't allow it for higher, more vast reasons. So at first I was disappointed, but then at the same time, it's like a lot of things that aren't allowed to happen are, I guess you could say blessings in disguise. Just like me not being able to go over the border, because maybe that, I tried to go over the border multiple times. The time that I got stopped was the last time. But there was something that came up every single time I tried to go. The fourth time I went, that was the final straw. Like I got banned. So I'm like, okay, if I tried to go 4 times and the fourth time I got banned, then obviously I'm not supposed to go there right now. So it was
Yeah,
hard for me to accept that.
I'd be looking at it like that too. Like, even though it is like the government structures, it's all, it's not, there's divinity in it, just,
Yeah.
even though they are grunts and they're just mindless, a lot of the time they're still an extension of divine force or presence.
Especially when Tay, I was fasting. I was so light and like vibrating at that time. Hello?
Hey, what's up? My bad. You said you were so light and what?
I was vibrating so high and I was so light that in my mind it had to be connected to divine intervention because
You hear me?
um like
All right.
like when you say like if you go the
You hear
day
me?
without doing breath work, things just unfortunate events just start happening.
Red
Like,
hot.
flights will get delayed or, things will just start
Hello?
happening that are not really in alignment with like your will. So like I feel like for me that was kind of what was happening in that regard. Like I was so in
Hello?
alignment
Hello?
that I feel like things were happening really in my favor. But because my human mind was like, why is this happening? Like, this can't be. Like, I need, like, I was so upset, but it's like I had to trust that it was all for good reason. And I'm no longer really bothered by it, but it just I just don't like the way that the police dealt with me because I just feel like, bro, like I wasn't even yelling at them, I didn't even get angry, I wasn't being rude, and I know they're just doing their job, I guess you could say, but it's like, come on, like you're already in control, like why do you need to be an asshole on top of that? Like what can we
Yeah.
do to you? You know what I mean? So it kind of frustrated me more than anything, but yeah, like I feel like I was in alignment at that time and everything that kind of happened was for a reason, and
But
everybody
okay.
who
I was saying,
yeah.
but like, so like having that connection though, I guess it gives you a good perspective on what you do want though.
Yes, it does. Yeah, I think what I realized was like, because why I cried was because I knew that me being blocked from going meant that I had to face the darkness that was here. And
Yeah.
and that was why I was so emotional because I knew that now I got to be this authentic self around a whole bunch of darkness. Like the weight of that was
Yeah.
crushing. It was so crushing because it's like now I got to deal with the demons that are around me. And it's not like I'm calling my family demonic or saying that these people are demons, but the thing is it's kind of like the movie The Matrix. When you're not fully in alignment with self and you're not aware of self, the Mr. Smiths can just step inside of you at any given moment. You can become a Mr. Smith because there's no you're not you're not at the seat of consciousness. So at any given moment you can get taken over and now you're literally a Mr. Smith. You're literally being governed by a parasite or a spirit. So the thing
Yeah.
is with me, it's like it was literally like walking through the valley of the shadow of death. Like you have to literally navigate your whole circumstance. But now I'm doing it alone. Whereas when I was in Florida, I was doing it with him beside me. I wasn't by myself. So like now I'm by myself going through it and I'm having to like at one point I was like texting him like, this is happening, that's happening. And he was trying to like coach me, through the phone on how to navigate, the energy and the spirits that were coming up in people. And then there was a point where I was like, maybe he's on some other shit. Maybe I'm just not accepting my family and I'm just being against everyone. But I realized that, like, anybody or anything that kind of deters you from being yourself, like being you, um, is really anti Christ. Like, it's anti self. Like, it's not really it's not in your best interest. So, I kind of just realized that a lot of what I had to do was just to be me. That was all that was required of me when I was living in Florida. I didn't have to work. I didn't have to force myself to be this person. But at the same time, I wanted to get my driver's license. I wanted to be able to, if I say, like, hey, I want to do this, like, I wanted to be able to get up and explore. I didn't really like the fact that I was being, like, kind of coddled, it did give off a little bit of like a father daughter type of dynamic in a way because of the age difference, and then me not really having a lot of knowledge of like Black America and understanding how different it is over there, and like everyone just looking at me. In Florida they like to say you're green when you're not very hip to a
Yeah,
lot of stuff that's going on, like you're green
yeah,
as hell, or they'll call you a jit, which is like a jitterbug, like you're just a jit, to a lot of them, like you don't know nothing, and people would look at me
yeah,
and be like, you're so nice, you're so sweet. I could easily just take advantage of you. Like you're just very soft. You're just a very impressionable. You think that everybody is just nice, and because that's just my natural disposition. Since then it
yeah,
has evolved. I'm not like that as much, but I can be like very friendly and trusting of people, because I just like to look at life from like a more idealistic point of view. I like to see that there's good in all people and that everybody deserves love and respect and kindness. But I don't really always acknowledge that there are heathens amongst us and there are people that don't have like love. Like, not that they don't have love within them, but like people are not naturally going to take to that type of energy, and they don't naturally have that to where they're going to just be, people are looking at how they can benefit from a sweet person or a soft person. So I had to learn a lot of things like that, and now that I'm back here, and the person that was kind of keeping me on my game with that um is no longer around me. I had to go and experience things, and I guess you could say I went through some things that I'm not really proud of once I left. I kind of had a little bit of a smug attitude, and I went and did some things to kind of allow myself some autonomy, because I felt like I wasn't like, I didn't allow myself to experience or be free in a sense, I guess you could say. So I kind of, explored my sexuality in that way, not going the other way, but like, just seeing what it is that I like and stuff like that. And that really ties into like, like, I don't know, just a whole bunch of stuff. I kind of went through that period, but I went through that at 25 as opposed to 20 because I was in a relationship. So I wasn't really doing that. And honestly, what I will say, as much as people want to talk about how marriage isn't real, or, it doesn't really matter if you're married or not, I think that the purpose of why, you know, uh, I guess you could say God created the concept of marriage is for the purpose of protection, because really the whole purpose of unifying with someone else is to really, it's like a external representation of internal unification. So you're yourself, you're married to your true self, and then your reflection is married to their true self, and then you guys come together and you honor the truth together. So you're serving humanity as a unit, individually and collaboratively. That's the purpose of marriage to me. And I feel like marriage does protect you from unnecessary healing, because now you have to go and make all these mistakes and date all these people and go, for some women get ran through and all this stuff, and even for men too. And when you're
yeah,
married and you're just focused on evolving, you don't need to run up your bodies like that. You don't need to do all that stuff. You're just focused on creation. You're just focused on creating. Not saying that you can't, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the latter, like not being married and allowing yourself to explore and figure out who you are, but marriage really does kind of like keep you in a focused spot, but only if both individuals are committed to evolution. That's it. If not, it's going to become, static and stagnant, and that's when the energy and the thoughts and everything is going to start drifting, and now there's infidelity and there's cheating and there's a mistress, and it really is about, loyalty to God first, which dwells within, and then you can really be loyal to another person if they're loyal to God too, because in order to be loyal to God in a relationship, that person also has to be loyal to God, or else you're betraying yourself even being with them. So it really just it really is an internal thing. Marriage is not vanity. It's literally, I'm committed to this person so that we can walk together and honor the truth together. That's really the purpose of marriage. But at this point in time now, everything is more about, the money aspect, which makes sense. You marry, like me marrying into to someone who's American would have given me, the means to actually, navigate the states and work there and capitalize off of that. But it really just has multiple different facets, but the overall essence of it is what I said. Like, that's how I perceive marriage. So if you're not willing to commit to, just like Islam, if you're not fully ready to commit on a full level, like, don't even bother calling yourself that, or even really doing it. Don't marry if you're not ready to commit to the Most High for real, because that's really what it boils down to. That's really how you do it correctly. And I don't really think that, and that's why
Yeah,
people, yeah,
you don't want to set up a contract you're gonna just break anyway.
yeah,
So
like if you're not real with yourself, there's no point. You know what I mean?
so
Like,
how how much has your sexuality would you say changed from I guess whenever you lost your virginity to today?
um, I think with me, like I'm just more, I, I don't know, like what can I say? I actually understand more now that, like, I mean, when I first was doing it, it was more like curiosity. I didn't really know that at the first time when I first did it, like I thought that, I didn't know that it could feel good. So at first it was like, this is not really enjoyable. So it kind of like the first ever time that I could say that I actually experienced it how it was supposed to be was with my first love when I was 16. But then the first time I did it, I believe I was like 15 or 14. Um, and that was embarrassing. Like well, not really embarrassing, but it was kind of stupid, and it didn't really do anything for me. Like it was kind of dumb. But like now as I get older, like I feel like I actually can express myself more in that way. Like I'm more confident and adventurous with my own self. Like I don't enter into it without confidence. Like I know my body, I know what I like, and I'm not afraid or shy, and I love my body too. And I feel like a huge part of, being confident in the bedroom is to love the way that you look. Like if you're not confident in your femininity and your sexuality and how your body looks, then the way that you approach intimacy will be very weird. Like you won't really feel, confident to ask for what you want and to go for what you want, in and out of the bedroom. You know what I mean? So I feel
Yeah.
like my
I
confidence
mean, yeah,
level,
for a woman, I'm sure it feels that way. You know, I mean, it feels that way for a dude, but at the same time, I feel like for myself, it's like 90% of it is just how much money I got in my pocket.
yeah, yeah, it is. A lot, and especially for older women, they're gonna be looking at that. I feel like younger women, you just have to wow them because like I feel like for younger women, I'm telling you, like as a young woman that has kind of experienced stuff, like I never thought about money. I never thought about that when I was 20 years old, 18, 19. Because my stepfather, he took care of me easily. I never wanted for anything. So I never really had that thought, like, I need to find somebody that, well, in a sense, yeah, like, I guess you could say, like, I liked having that person that I know had my back. Like, I know for a fact if I was in a relationship, somebody who is like stable and consistent, like a father would be, I like that type of dynamic. However, I never thought about that when I was young. So I feel like for men, like, younger women are not really going to think about the long term. Like, is this man suitable to take care of me and our future children if we get involved, there's really no concept um of stability and security for the long haul for younger women. We more so think about right now, like this guy is giving me a great experience. Like everything is magical, everything is a fantasy, and he's making me have fun. And I like it. So like I'm gonna follow him. I'm gonna listen to what he says. He's cute. His jokes are funny. And he could be a complete bum. But because we're just so
I mean, some chicks
enamored.
like take that on because for one, they like to nurture, and then or for two, they know they can always that's collateral. They have leverage on the person.
Yes, yes. Yeah, that is true as well. Some women do prefer guys that aren't really successful in that way because
Where you gonna go? where where are you
Yeah,
gonna go?
yeah, where are you gonna go? You're not gonna leave me. It kind of gives them, and I trust me, I believe, I wholeheartedly. And it's so funny because even when you talk about that, it's like some women get shocked that a man would even cheat on them when it's like I'm giving him everything, I'm doing everything, and I have the money, I'm buying him things. But the thing is, what women don't understand is that a lot of men, like their pride and their self esteem comes from their ability to really be that one that you look up to. So if you're the one doing everything and dishing out everything and he's just sitting there, he wants to go where he's admired and where he is the leader. Like, you know what I mean? And he can't really be
Even if it's just sexually.
exactly. Exactly. So he's gonna do it. He's gonna look elsewhere. You could be the and this is why I say like you cannot make a man be with you. Like you can't make him choose you. A man is going to go wherever he chooses to at the end of the day, and it has nothing to do with anything that you do really. And at the end of the day, like when I was in the relationship in Florida, like he had a lot of women, plenty, but it wasn't. Oh, sorry, I'm on a episode. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, like he had a lot of women, he had experience with a lot of women, but like I was just this young girl, not like the rest of the ones that he's been with, but he saw something in me that was different. And it had nothing to do with anything that I had. It wasn't my money or my position in life, nothing like that. So I feel like it doesn't really matter for a man, like what you actually, how men today are like, what do you bring to the table? Like a man that actually. Hello?
Yeah, yeah, my bad. You were talking about it don't matter what what you do or whatever. And some dudes, I was just gonna say like they just
Hello?
admit that he might have liked you because you're
Damn.
more malleable. Maybe older women is more rigid, and sometimes younger
Yeah,
women like
that definitely plays a factor into it as well. Because even now at my age, like I'm 28 now, and after my experiences, I'm like, I look out for everything. Everything is now on trial, so it kind of makes it um you with more experience, you're less impressionable. And so it makes it a little harder for a man to kind of get into.
Spotify smoking us.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now. You say after you said you're less impressionable
Yeah, yeah. Way less impressionable and you're way less impressionable and like it just makes it easier for a man to be able to like, lead you because you trust you're more trusting. So,
when you're
um
green.
yes. When
Yeah,
you're a jet.
yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. So, you know, hello?
yeah. Y'all say that. Y'all say that up there too, right? Y'all say red hot. Oh, at least I know that my brother's friend is Trinidadian, and he be always saying that when shit is annoying. He's like
Oh
red.
no, no.
He's like red hot to mine.
No, I don't know. I don't say that, but that's funny to me.
But no,
No, I don't say that.
shit. No, I was gonna say that. I don't know. I forgot what the train of thought was for you, but I wanted to ask you, like, how do you think it's tough, like, if you trained your body, like, to be promiscuous, or if you to be more, I guess, sexually open, like, to come out of that routine, like, because we was
Yes.
talking about, like, yeah, because you was talking about it, like, as far as like, I guess you reach a state of frustration, and then you get like more, I guess,
Yes.
as
Yes,
a
it
more.
is. It is.
I see dudes too. I think the same. They get trained, and then I think that's why they have wet dreams and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. So the thing with me is I think with me, like when it comes to my sexuality, I'm extreme. So either I am completely a nun or I am completely open. And finding that balance is very important for me because you really as a woman it's just not a good look to just be out here. Not really about the look of it, but like, energetically it's not good to allow so many people to have access to you in that way. Let me know
Yeah,
if I'm actually clear. Can you hear me?
yeah, you're clear.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it's not necessarily beneficial for a woman to allow so many people to have access to her energy in that way or to take on that much energy. But with me personally, from my experience, once you start to allow yourself to experience that type of when you allow your sexuality to go wild, like
Ah, man, keeps cutting you out. Yeah.
to do this
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah, you said you let it go wild and then what?
When you let it go wild, it kind of makes it difficult for you to find pleasure outside of just sensuality when it comes to interacting with the opposite sex. So like I feel like for me, like if I have a bond with someone or I'm connecting with someone, I think it's better when we develop a friendship first to where we're talking and we're actually hanging out and we're doing things that are enjoyable outside of sensuality. There that way it makes it easier to like it kind of keeps from tainting the connection through just the physicality because I feel like once you start sleeping with someone, especially if you do it prematurely, you no longer have a it's kind of like you don't really get to see like the real true um enjoyment that the connection could really have because now it's just tainted by the sex and stuff. Like now you're just oh like I really miss hello.
Damn, as soon as we start talking about the gushy shit.
I know it's almost like they don't want us to talk about it or something. But I feel like we need to find another medium to you to do these podcasts because this is so unreliable.
I know, yeah. I gotta figure
um,
out. Yeah.
yeah, eventually there's different platforms. I don't know, or maybe even the live might work. I mean, I'm not
Do a live.
adverse to it.
So you could do a live with no video too.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. That would
Yeah.
work. That'd be nice. Yeah, so basically what I don't know where I cut off, but basically what I was saying is that sometimes people utilize their sexuality for control and maybe that's kind of their way of kind of maintaining dominance because they feel like if they, give good sex to somebody that they'll stay or, maybe like, oh, well, they're not going to want me.
Like a
They're not
dollar, you stay. You stay.
yeah, like if I give it to you, then you won't leave me or, it'll